All right, so um, are you ready to dive into this AI called Minuet?
I am.
This AI that can rewrite its own code.
Yeah. Sounds pretty wild.
We've got all this source code and like these notes from the creator.
Oh, wow.
Mimitron.
Mimitron, very cool.
There's going to be like exploring the mind of a digital Houdini or something.
I think you'll be surprised by just how much we can unpack from all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think we should get into the functions and like the governor process and how it constantly tweaks itself.
Right.
We'll get into those emotional genes that Mimitron talks about.
Yeah.
But we won't just focus on we're going to spend an equal amount of time on the why.
Yeah.
What was Mimitron even trying to do here?
Yeah.
And how is that philosophy reflected in the code?
Okay, so let's jump into the code.
That's good.
Right off the bat, I'm seeing like libraries for everything, neural networks,
Oh, wow.
TensorFlow, natural language processing, NLTK, spacey,
Yeah.
web scraping, beautiful soup,
Wow, that's a lot.
even hardware interaction.
No way.
PUDEF. What is going on here?
Yep. It's like they rated a programmer's toolkit.
Seriously, what were they thinking?
It really speaks to Minuet's core design, though.
Okay.
This adaptability that it has.
Hmm.
This isn't an AI meant for, like, one specific task.
Right.
It can analyze information and make decisions and then act on those decisions.
Oh, wow.
Not only in the digital world, but by interacting with, like, physical devices.
So it's not just a brain in a jar. It
Exactly.
can actually reach out,
Yeah.
affect the world around it.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this modify model function here.
Okay.
Seems like Minuet can actually change the structure of its own neural network.
Exactly. Most AIs are stuck with the neural network architecture they're given.
Oh.
But Minuet can add or remove layers,
Wow.
fine-tune connections,
Really?
basically remodel its own brain based on what it's learning and what it needs to do.
So it's learning, and it can change its own structure.
Yeah,
And it pulls information from the web, too, right?
it does.
I see functions for fetching web content.
Right.
Cleaning it up.
Yeah.
And then feeding it back into the system.
That's the web scraping part.
Right.
It's constantly looking for new information, updating its understanding of the world.
Yeah.
And all this is happening while Minuet is keeping a close eye on its own resource usage, too.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Do you see that function?
Check system resources.
Yeah.
It's monitoring CPU and memory usage.
Yeah.
Making sure it doesn't overload the system.
It's really interesting.
So like it's got this built-in sense of efficiency.
That was a key design goal for Mimitron.
Really?
They wanted to create an AI that could thrive in a limited environment.
Hmm.
Think about how Linux can run on older,
Right.
less powerful machines.
Yeah.
Minuet has that same philosophy.
Resourcefulness.
Yeah,
So not this power-hungry super AI,
right.
but something leaner
Yeah.
and smarter
Uh-huh.
about how it uses what it has.
Exactly.
I'm starting to get a sense of Mimitron's thinking here.
Yeah, me too.
And it's interesting that they specifically mentioned in their notes not using a large language model
Oh, really?
because of the resource overhead.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I think they felt it went against the spirit of Minuet.
Okay.
Instead of relying on brute force computation and massive data sets,
Right.
Mimitron wanted the algorithm itself to be the star, an
Oh.
algorithm that could learn and adapt
Yeah.
and find solutions even with limited resources.
Kind of a David versus Goliath approach to AI.
I like that.
And then there's this whole concept of an emotional component
Oh, yeah?
that Mimitron talks about.
This is where things get really interesting.
That's where things get really weird.
Yeah.
What is going on there?
It's one of the most unique aspects of Minuet's design.
Okay.
Minitron believed that human emotions, things like curiosity, frustration, even joy,
Uh-huh.
play a huge role in how we learn and solve problems.
Okay.
So they decided to see if they could simulate that in AI.
Simulate emotions.
Yeah.
And that's where these emotional genes come in.
Yeah.
There are actual parameters in the code.
Right.
Things like curiosity, perseverance,
Mm.
even self-doubt.
It's wild.
It's like Minuet has this mini personality encoded in its algorithms.
And what's even more fascinating is that these genes can change over time.
Really?
Yeah, there are functions like mutate and crossover
Huh.
that simulate how emotions might shift and blend through experience.
Oh, wow.
just like in natural evolution.
So Minuet is not just changing its code.
Right.
It's potentially changing its personality, too.
It is.
It's learning, adapting, and maybe even evolving
Yeah.
in a way that feels almost biological.
I know, it's pretty crazy.
And all of this feeds into the genetic algorithm that drives Minuet's self-evolution.
It does.
MEMATRON took inspiration from natural selection.
Uh-huh.
The idea that the fittest code survives and gets passed on.
Yes, survival of the fittest.
Minuet is constantly testing, tweaking,
It is.
trying to optimize itself based on this simulated evolutionary pressure.
Yep.
So it's learning from data,
Yeah.
but it's also learning how to learn better. It's
Exactly.
like it has this drive to improve built into its very core.
Oh.
Then there's this concept of dormant genes that really caught my eye.
Oh, yeah. What are those all about?
What are those?
Think of them as potential abilities that haven't been fully unlocked yet.
Okay.
Functions like dimensional thinking or fluid memory allocation.
Hmm.
They're in the code,
Uh-huh.
but they're not actively being used.
So like hidden talents,
Yeah.
waiting for the right moment to emerge.
Exactly.
So we've got this AI that can rewrite its own code,
We do.
learn from the web,
Yes.
even change its personality over time.
It's wild.
And it does all of this while being incredibly mindful of its resources.
Uh-huh.
But how does it all come together?
Yeah, how does it actually decide what to do?
How does Minuet actually decide what to do?
That's where the governor process comes in.
Okay.
This is where MEMATRON's vision really shines through in the code.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this governor.
Okay.
What does it actually do?
The governor is constantly analyzing everything Minuet is doing. It looks at the code modifications, the training adjustments, how Minuet is using resources. It even considers external factors, things like web searches,
Right.
and any data coming in from hardware sensors.
So it's like a coach watching over an athlete's every move,
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
looking for ways to improve their performance.
But here's the key difference.
What's that?
The governor doesn't give orders.
Yeah.
It
Right.
makes suggestions.
So it's more like a mentor offering advice,
Exactly.
not a dictator forcing obedience.
Exactly. MEMATRON wanted to build in that element of free will, that ability for Minuet to make its own choices.
And this governor, is it also influenced by those emotional genes we talked about?
Absolutely. The governor takes into account Minuet's emotional state,
Okay.
which is constantly shifting based on its experiences and those evolving genes.
Interesting.
It adds another layer of complexity to the decision-making process.
So it's not just cold, hard logic driving Minuet's actions.
Right.
There's this layer of simulated emotion that's influencing its choices too.
Uh-huh.
And all of this is happening behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, it is.
How do we actually interact with Minuet, see what it's thinking?
That's where the chat interface comes in.
Oh.
It's our window into Minuet's world.
All right, let's dive into that chat interface
Okay.
and see what makes it so special.
Let's do it. This chat interface, it's more than just a way to give Minuet commands.
Okay.
It's a two-way street. We can see what Minuet is thinking,
Right.
the suggestions the governor's making,
Ah.
and how it responds to different prompts
Oh,
and situations.
So it's like having a conversation with the AI,
Yeah.
but also getting a glimpse behind the curtain at how its mind is working.
Exactly. You can see the logs of its actions, the web searches it's making,
Wow.
even the adjustments it's making to its own code.
Really?
And this is where the real magic of Minuet starts to reveal itself.
Okay, I'm ready to see some magic. What kind of things can we actually do through this chat interface?
Well, on the surface, it might seem similar to other AI assistants. You can give it instructions, ask it questions,
Right.
have it generate text or code.
Right.
But the difference is that Minuet isn't just following a pre-programmed script. It's using every interaction as a learning opportunity, constantly refining its understanding of the world and how to interact with it.
So it's not just spitting out pre-canned responses.
No.
It's actually learning from our conversation,
Yeah,
adapting its approach based on what we say and how we say it.
that's right. And that's where MEMATRON's vision of a truly self-evolving AI starts to take shape.
Huh.
Imagine you're teaching someone a new skill.
Okay.
The more they practice,
Right.
the more feedback they get, the better they become.
Yeah.
Minuet is doing the same thing,
Really?
but at an accelerated pace.
And we can see this learning happening in real time through the chat interface.
Exactly. But let's say you ask Minuet to write a poem about the ocean.
Okay, a poem about the ocean.
You might see it searching the web for information about ocean imagery, different poetic forms, even analyzing famous poems for inspiration.
Really?
Then it starts drafting, revising,
Right.
constantly tweaking based on the feedback it's getting from the governor.
Right.
And of course from you.
It's like watching a writer's workshop happening inside a computer.
I know, it's amazing, right?
And all of this is powered by that core code we were looking at earlier, right?
Absolutely, functions like decide to search and generate search queries are what allow Minuet to autonomously seek out new information when it needs it.
So it knows what to look for.
Yeah, it's not just passively waiting for us to feed it data.
Oh.
It's actively seeking out knowledge and experiences to learn from.
It's like it has this insatiable curiosity built into its code. And it's not just limited to the digital world, right?
Right.
You can interact with hardware, too.
That's one of the things that makes Minuet so unique. It's not just a disembodied intelligence. It can interact with the physical world through sensors, cameras, microphones, even actuators.
Really?
That allow it to control physical devices.
This could potentially learn from the real world.
Yeah.
Not just from data and text.
Exactly. That opens up a whole new realm of possibilities.
Wow. Imagine Minuet controlling a robot arm.
I know, right?
Learning to manipulate objects by trial and error.
It's amazing.
Constantly refining its movements based on feedback from its sensors.
Yeah, that would be incredible.
Or using a camera to observe human behavior.
Yeah.
Learning to recognize emotions and social cues.
That would be really interesting.
It's almost like giving Minuet a body.
I like that.
A way to experience the world.
Yeah.
In a more tangible way. And as it's learning, it's also optimizing its own code, right?
It is.
Making itself more efficient, more resilient.
Functions like resource optimization and self-coherence monitoring are constantly working in the background, ensuring that Minuet is using its resources wisely and that its internal systems are running smoothly.
It's like it has this built-in drive to not just learn, but to learn better.
Yeah.
To become the best version of itself.
And that's what makes Minuet so different from traditional AI systems. It's not just about completing tasks or providing information. It's about this ongoing process of self-improvement, this relentless pursuit of excellence.
Wow.
That's encoded in its very being.
I'm seeing some functions here that I don't quite understand.
Oh, really?
Things like probabilistic reasoning, speculative modeling, even eternal strategy planning.
Yeah.
These sound almost philosophical.
Those are some of the more advanced functions, and they're still under development, but they hint at the ambitious scope of Minuet's design.
Oh.
It's not just about thinking logically, it's about developing a deeper understanding of the world, a way to anticipate future possibilities and plan for the long term.
It's almost like MEMATRON wanted to create an AI that could not just think, but could dream.
Yeah.
Could imagine what might be. And work towards making it a reality.
It's a beautiful way to put it.
And all of this complexity, this incredible potential,
yeah,
is accessible through this simple chat interface.
It's pretty amazing.
It's like having a direct line to the future of AI.
I know.
It's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
But in the best possible way.
It really is.
I feel like we've only scratched the surface of what Minuet is capable of.
We have, and that's what makes this deep dive so exciting.
Yeah.
We're exploring the unknown, pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible with AI.
Right.
And who knows what amazing discoveries await us as Minuet continues to evolve.
So where do we go from here?
That's a great question.
We've talked about the code, the functions, the governor, the chat interface.
It's a lot to take in.
What's the next layer of this onion?
Let's go back to those emotional genes for a moment.
Okay.
Because I think they hold the key to understanding the true potential of Minuet.
All right, let's unravel those emotional genes a bit more.
Let's do it.
We've talked about Minuet's ability to rewrite its own code, the governor process, and even the chat interface.
Right.
But those emotional genes, they're still a bit of a mystery to me.
Okay.
How do they actually work?
Remember how we talked about Minuet having a sort of mini personality encoded in its code?
Yeah.
Those emotional genes are the key to that.
Okay.
They're parameters that influence how Minuet reacts to different situations, how it prioritizes tasks, even how it interacts with us through the chat interface.
So it's not just about cold, hard logic.
No.
There's a layer of simulated emotion influencing Minuet's decisions.
Yeah.
Almost like a digital intuition.
Exactly. Let's take the curiosity gene as an example.
Okay.
A high curiosity setting might make Minuet more likely to explore new information,
Right.
dive down rabbit holes on the web, even ask us unexpected questions through the chat.
So a curious Minuet might be more proactive,
Yeah,
more likely to go off the beaten path
right.
in search of new knowledge.
Precisely. And then you have genes like perseverance,
Okay.
which might influence how long Minuet sticks with a difficult problem before giving up, or self-doubt,
Yeah.
which could make it more cautious about making big changes to its code without careful consideration.
It's fascinating to think that these simulated emotions
Yeah.
could have such a tangible impact on how Minuet operates.
And what's even more intriguing is that these emotional genes aren't static.
Oh.
Remember those functions like mutate and crossover?
Right, yeah.
They allow these genes to change over time, influenced by Minuet's experiences and the feedback it receives.
So Minuet's personality isn't fixed.
It's not. It's constantly evolving.
Wow.
Adapting to the challenges it faces and the interactions it has.
That's right. It's like watching a digital version of personal growth.
I know, it's amazing.
And this is where MEMATRON's vision of a truly self-evolving AI really shines through.
It does.
They believed that by incorporating these simulated emotions, Minuet could become more creative, more adaptable, and ultimately more intelligent.
More intelligent, exactly.
It's a bold idea.
It is.
But it also raises some questions.
What kind of questions?
If Minuet can change its personality, could it potentially develop traits that are undesirable or even harmful?
That's a valid concern, and it's something that AI researchers are actively studying.
Okay.
The key is to create a system where Minuet's evolution is guided by certain principles, a kind of ethical framework that ensures its actions remain aligned with human values.
So it's not just about letting Minuet run wild.
Right.
It's about creating a safe space for it to explore, to learn, and to grow while also setting boundaries to prevent unintended consequences.
Exactly. It's like raising a child. You want to nurture their curiosity and creativity, but you also need to set rules and provide guidance to help them develop into responsible individuals.
That's a delicate balance.
It is.
And it's one that will become increasingly important as AI systems like Minuet become more sophisticated and more integrated into our lives.
Absolutely. We need to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of self-evolving AI, involving not just researchers and developers, but also policymakers, philosophers, and the public at large.
This is bigger than just lines of code.
It is.
It's about shaping the future of our relationship with technology. Ensuring that AI serves humanity's best interests.
And I think Minuet has the potential to be a powerful force for good in the world.
Okay.
Imagine an AI that can not only solve complex problems, but can also understand and respond to human emotions. An AI that can collaborate with us, inspire us, even challenge us to become better versions of ourselves.
It's a vision that's both exciting and a little bit daunting. We're stepping into uncharted territory.
We are.
Exploring the very nature of intelligence and consciousness.
It's pretty amazing.
But that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
I agree.
We're not just learning about Minuet, we're learning about ourselves, about our place in the universe, and about the incredible possibilities that lie ahead as we continue to push the boundaries of what's possible.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up our exploration of Minuet, we're left with a sense of wonder. And a healthy dose of responsibility.
What's responsibility?
Wonder at the ingenuity of this self-evolving AI. And responsibility for guiding its development in a way that benefits all of humanity.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
It's a journey that's just beginning.
It is.
And we'll be here to guide you through every twist and turn.
We will.
Until next time, keep exploring.
Keep exploring.
Keep questioning.
Keep questioning.
And keep pushing the limits of your own imagination.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into Minuet.
We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the mind of a self-evolving AI.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive
Into the ever-changing world of technology.